Hey everyone, I want to tell you about Cozy Earth. It's the world's softest sheets. They keep you cool, dry, and comfy all night long. They're moisture wicking, breathable, and they even get softer with every wash. They have PJ sets. Who can't get behind PJ sets? Valentine's is coming up. Get your wife a pajama set. It's Oprah approved. They have free shipping on orders over $50 and a 100-night sleep trial on those bedding sets and a 10-year warranty. And right now, our listeners get to save 40% off using our code INFOGO at CozyEarth.com. Find the link in the show notes. Luxury, comfort, and cool sleep await you at CozyEarth.com. Welcome to the podcast. I'm William,
And I'm Kat,
and that makes this Info on the Go.
answering questions you may not want to know.
Yeah, this one's gonna be pretty tough. We're gonna talk about the Mont Blanc Tunnel fire in France. And this happened in March in 1999 when a quiet routine drive through one of Europe's largest tunnels turned into it really turned into a nightmare just within minutes because thick smoke filled the tunnel, and what followed, well, it would change the way the world thought about safety in tunnels through mountains and transport. All of that changed internationally, right?
Right.
You want to get into the tunnel?
Absolutely. So,
Theoretically, not like go get in the tunnel like,
well, I don't have any tunnels nearby, so you're in luck.
all right, Kat.
Built between 1957 and 1965, after nearly 8 years of challenging excavation through alpine rock, it officially opened on July 19th, 1965, marking a new era of European engineering and mobility. It is 7.2 miles long, or 11.6 kilometers. It runs deep beneath Mont Blanc, which is the tallest mountain in the Alps.
So it linked Chamonix, France with Courmayeur, Italy. And this really created a direct path through the Alps, right? And this joint effort of French and Italian collaboration with teams tunneling toward each other and meeting in the middle with only a 13 centimeter or 5-inch deviation. And I gotta say, that is remarkable.
For the era, especially.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. I mean, one starts on one end and the other one starts on the other end, and they're only off by like 5 inches.
That's crazy.
So the cost of the tunnel back then was approximately around $100 million, which would be the equivalent of roughly $1 billion today.
It was an engineering feat which required pioneering drilling, ventilation, and safety technology to operate under extreme conditions. It was celebrated as a post war triumph of cooperation, linking two nations and symbolizing a hopeful, united Europe, and at opening the longest road tunnel in the world and a major engineering triumph.
Yeah, the longest. I guess we forgot to do that factoid at the beginning.
A factoid.
Yeah. And, the Mont Blanc tunnel became more than just an engineering achievement. It was a powerful post World War II symbol of reconciliation between France and Italy. And these two nations, well, they were divided during the war, right?
Hmm.
Its completion in 1965 represented a renewed spirit of peace, partnership, and optimism in a continent that was rebuilding from its devastation of Hitler and the Nazi regime there.
The project demonstrated that former enemies could now literally meet in the middle, joining forces to carve a shared path through the Alps. The tunnel's opening was widely celebrated as a landmark of European cooperation, and its success inspired broader ambitions for continual unity, foreshadowing the spirit that would later shape the European Economic Community and eventually the European Union.
So beyond politics, it really brought people and cultures closer together. Tourism in the Mont Blanc region, well, it surged, and travel between Paris and Rome became faster, safer, and more accessible than ever before. And newspapers at the time called it a road through the mountain and through history itself. I love that title.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was a vital trade artery too. By the late 1990s, the tunnel had evolved into one of Europe's busiest trans-alpine transport routes. Ooh, say that one 10 times fast.
I know, right?
Handling handling around 1.1 million vehicles each year. Roughly 500,000 trucks and 600,000 cars pass through annually, carrying everything from food and fuel to chemicals and manufactured goods.
Yeah, it accounted for roughly around 40% of all goods traffic crossing the Alps between France and Italy, and it really made it an essential link in the European commerce. However, traffic levels, well, they far exceeded what engineers had envisioned in the 1960s. The tunnel itself, well, it was really built for lighter, slower vehicles, not heavy freight convoys of modern trade of the time.
Right. So as diesel trucks grew larger and more numerous, air quality declined, and the ventilation system struggled to keep up with exhaust fumes. So by the late 1990s, experts warned that the Mont Blanc Tunnel was overworked and outdated. Its infrastructure strained under decades of use, which was a hidden weak spot that would soon prove catastrophic.
So the Mont Blanc Tunnel, well, it was built as a single tunnel containing two lanes for two-way traffic, with vehicles traveling in opposite directions through the same confined space.
Mm,
Oh, wow, that's already set up for disaster there, right?
that sounds like a bottleneck.
Yeah. It had one central ventilation system, ooh, engineered mainly to remove a vehicle exhaust, not smoke or heat from fires, which was a critical shortcoming in emergency cases,
For sure.
which is the basis of this episode.
Right. So the lack of safety infrastructure. What when it opened, the tunnel had no dedicated emergency exits, no fireproof shelters, and no safe evacuation passages connecting to the surface or even parallel routes. But the concrete walls were strong for stability, but not insulated to withstand the extreme temperatures of a major fire.
Think about that. This tunnel is 7.5 miles long. Think about all the stuff that we just said. There's no fire shelters, no safe evacuation for passengers. There's no emergency exits. Over time, diesel soot and inadequate lighting reduce visibility, making it difficult for drivers to react quickly in emergencies. And in the 1960s, the focus was on engineering achievement and transportation speed. Safety systems, well, they became a minimal, they just became minimal because serious tunnel fires, well, they were not yet considered a realistic threat. Not until we get into what's going to happen next.
Right. It worked for decades for normal traffic, but when disaster struck, mm, it turned into a deadly trap there.
Yeah, I mean, there were prior warnings and overlooked risk in the 1980s through the 90s. Experts warned of ventilation and communication issues. And in 1986, a safety study of the Mont Blanc tunnel's design for airflow and traffic risk, well, it had some key warnings. Large vehicle fires could trap and kill hundreds. Wow.
Yeah, a single tube, two-way traffic would rapidly fill with toxic smoke, making escape nearly impossible. And the ventilation, like we said, was designed for exhaust fumes, not for fire, smoke, or heat. In any case, there were no emergency exits, no way for anybody to get out, no ventilation system. It's just spells disaster for anybody involved.
Yeah, and the recommendations, well, they were ignored. And this really left the tunnel exposed. And tragedy, well, it was going to be realized in the 1999 fire when a minor truck fire occurred. Think about what I said. It's a minor truck fire. And this really kind of unraveled that poor coordination. French and Italian control rooms use different systems and languages. Reports in 1997 said the tunnel could not cope with a major blaze, but the recommended safety upgrades, they were delayed or just plain ignored.
So on March 24th, 1999, at 10:46 a.m., a Belgian transport truck driven by Gilbert de Grave enters the Mont Blanc tunnel from the French side. He had a cargo of 9 tons of margarine and flour, both highly flammable when ignited, and it was a routine drive through calm morning traffic.
Yeah, but at 10:53 a.m., other drivers, well, they started to spot smoke coming from the Graves truck about 4.6 miles inside the tunnel. So basically, he's about halfway.
Hmm.
So the driver, he stops to investigate. He's really unaware that the fire is already out of control. And within minutes, the tunnel fills with dense, black, oily smoke from the burning margarine, acting like liquid fuel.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, it, it sounds pretty horrible. Um, but by mid-morning, traffic halts on both sides. Drivers are trapped in their vehicles. 39 people, mostly truckers, well, they would later lose their lives before the disaster was ever over.
Jeez. Between 10:55 and 11,
A lemon?
what is a lemon?
It's in my water over here.
I love lemon water. Oh, okay. So between 10:55 and 11 a.m., flames spread quickly, igniting nearby vehicles and tires. And I mean, as soon as you light a
Mm.
tire, there's nothing you can do.
But black smoke, I mean, it.
It's thick and it's trapped. Okay. The ventilation system, of course, designed for only exhaust, pulled the smoke deeper into the tunnel, which worsened the visibility. Drivers behind the truck try to turn around, but the narrow two-lane layout makes it impossible.
But by 11:05, well, somewhere between 11:05 and 11:15 a.m., the tunnel itself, it really became a death trap. Visibility was zero. You couldn't see nothing in front of you. Toxic gases like carbon monoxide, cyanide from the burning plastic, well, it filled the air, and many victims died from asphyxiation, not the flames.
By 11:30 and onward, first responders arrive, but conditions are unmanageable. I can't imagine they even were able to reach
The middle of the
anywhere
tunnel,
anywhere near close to the middle of the tunnel.
because this thing is 7.5 miles wide.
4.6 miles in. So it's halfway to uh, we're going to Italy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so you've got two lanes of traffic that are backed up, people trying to turn around, people trying to flee for their lives.
And you
Yeah.
can't see.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You can't see. So I don't know how first responders would even, I don't even know how you would react in that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, heat reaches well over 1000 degrees Celsius or 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt vehicles, asphalt, and concrete walls.
Wow.
So this is not spelling out too well.
No.
The fire burns continuously for over 50 hours.
Wow.
Rescue vehicles and firefighting robots are destroyed by the heat.
Hot enough to melt asphalt and the concrete. Dang.
Mm.
French firefighters entered from one side, Italian crews entered from the other side, but they were just unable to reach the center. And the last survivor was found more than 5 days later, rescued from a fireproof shelter. That was a French truck driver named Jean-Pierre Nardin, and he survived by sealing himself inside a small maintenance recess in the tunnel wall while the blaze raged for more than 50 hours and rescuers couldn't reach the center due to the extreme heat. He endured for over 5 days with limited air. When firefighters finally entered, they found him alive but weak, and the last and only survivor discovered days after the disaster. And this really symbolizing human endurance amid a tragedy. I could not imagine being in this thing for 5 days.
No, I mean, and just stuck there, and you're running out of oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, limited air, the heat around you. I can't even imagine the heat he must have felt.
Not to mention having to do anything else or how hungry and dehydrated you are by that point.
Yeah, for 5 days for sure.
Oof. An Italian truck driver, Maurizio Loretz, tried to save others during the fire by backing his truck toward safety and warning trapped drivers. Despite his efforts, though, he was overcome by smoke and toxic fumes and later found dead near his vehicle, but was remembered as one of the disaster's quiet heroes.
Yeah, and the original truck driver, Gilbert DeGrave, um, he died trying to escape, and his body was found near his cab.
Hey,
Yeah. So France and Italy each operated their own control centers with different languages and emergency procedures, right?
yeah,
This early communication breakdown, well, both sides believed the fire was closer to the other end.
it was so bad they just kind of gave up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them now. No, it's on your side. No, it's on my side. No, whatever.
And it's just literally right in the middle.
Yeah.
So ventilation systems were not synchronized, and one side tried to push smoke out while the other inadvertently pulled it in. But the delays in cooperation cost valuable time, and rescue teams from both nations did not meet in the middle until 48 hours later due to the conditions and confusion.
Yeah, but the aftermath, um, and I say before we get into the aftermath of this, let's take a small break.
Sounds good.
All right.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you follow artificial intelligence seriously, not just the headlines, but the actual research, this podcast is for you. Every other week, I'll break down new papers straight from the archive and top research labs, focusing on what's actually changing in the field and how it can affect your everyday work.
So now that we're back, by the time the fire was extinguished, 38 trucks and cars were destroyed. Temperatures melted steel and glass. The tunnel resembled a furnace. The event became one of Europe's deadliest roadways disasters.
It was a total closure. The tunnel was completely shut down for 3 years following the 1999 disaster, and it didn't reopen until 2002, only after an extensive reconstruction and safety overhaul, including new emergency exits, ventilation systems, and monitoring equipment. And the closure severed one of Europe's busiest transalpine transport routes, forcing freight and passenger traffic to take alternative passes some hundreds of miles longer, which was significantly increasing travel time and costs.
No, yeah, I mean, 100 miles, I mean, that's like a couple of hours, and that's if you're doing 80. I
Not to
mean,
mention up mountains.
and the economic impact of all of this, well, trade between France and Italy was severely disrupted, affecting supply chains across Europe. Trucking companies, well, particularly those carrying perishable goods, faced financial losses and bankruptcy, I guess. And then alpine towns and communities that were dependent on that cross-border tourism and freight services, they suffered sharp declines in income and employment, and this created long-term economic stress in the region. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, because it was pushing tourism, it cut travel times. Like, I can see it have a devastating effect.
Right. But I bet they're really glad that it's back open now and new and improved.
Yeah, but just think about those few years that it wasn't.
It's a tough 3 years. The tragedy also sparked diplomatic friction between France and Italy. Both nations blamed each other for delays and miscommunication during the fire. Italian officials claimed French operators were slow to alert them. French authorities blamed Italian emergency coordination failures. It really showed the systemic flaws and shared management. Each country had separate staff, control centers, and emergency protocols. The tunnel, while physically uniting Europe, was administratively divided, highlighting weaknesses in international infrastructure and oversight.
Yeah, and then you had public and international outrage. Well, yeah, I mean because the fire it shocked the global community, not only because of the death toll of 39, but also because of the disaster. Well, it was largely preventable, right? So, media worldwide questioned how such a major international route could operate without basic safety systems. Families of victims demanded accountability. Memorials and vigils were held across France and Italy and Belgium. And the Mont Blanc Fire became a symbol of bureaucratic failure, complacency, and negligence. And, you know, when doing this research, I saw somewhere where one of the firefighters said it wasn't just the smoke that clouded the tunnel that day. It was years of ignored warnings and divided responsibility.
There was some legal fallout here. Both France and Italy launched separate investigations, a challenge since the tunnel literally straddles their border. And the finding reveals a perfect storm of design flaws and human errors. Shocker.
Yeah.
Lack of emergency exits, no parallel escape tunnel or even safe refuge areas, no ventilation system failures. Instead of clearing smoke, it circulated toxic gases. There was poor communication, separate control centers, incompatible radio frequencies, not even a unified emergency plan. Insufficient fire response, firefighters lacked equipment for high heat, confined environments, so they couldn't even get in there. And of course, the delayed alarm activation and failure to close the tunnel immediately after the first report of smoke.
16 individuals and companies were charged in France, including tunnel operators, management firms, and officials. Accusations ranged from negligence to involuntary manslaughter. The main operator on the French side, the ATMB, they were over the tunnel and they were found partially responsible. And the trucking company and the manufacturer of the margin cargo, well, they were also scrutinized. Trials lasted several years. Some officials received suspended sentences, while others were fined. I I don't think that should have been a thing. I think they should have went back and took a look at themselves from those original findings and, all the safety concerns.
Right. I don't really think it was the trucking company's fault or even the margarine company because that's a risk everybody has to take when transporting those items.
Yeah, and they're highly flammable, and you're inside this tunnel. One's trying to pull air out, and the other one's it's just causing the air to be stagnant in there. Yeah, no.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, the court concluded that no single person was to blame, but everyone shared responsibility. So it really highlighted systemic failures and international cooperation, which is a pattern mirrored by many shared European infrastructures at the time.
Yeah, but the infrastructure reckoning, the Mont Blanc disaster became a wake-up call for Europe's tunnel systems.
Dozens of other alpine and transnational tunnels underwent emergency reviews as well.
Yeah, so the EU soon drafted new tunnel safety directives, mandatory emergency exits and cross passages every few hundred meters.
Dual or even reversible ventilation systems capable of smoke extraction.
Yeah, I think that one would be huge, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it also created centralized bilingual emergency coordination systems between nations. And I think that's another huge win because if the two countries could have communicated with one another, I'm not saying it would have ended the fire, but I think it would have helped, you
Something.
know. Yeah, especially one can say, "Hey, cut your ventilation system off. It's just pulling the air back in. Let us take it out."
Right. At that point, I mean, you just might as well get a whole bunch of fans and start pushing and pulling extra fans, like big ones, big industrial ones. A lot of them.
Yeah.
That's the only like solution that I see in my head. But I am no engineer at all. Do not claim to be. Mm-mm. Continuous fire detection and even surveillance systems.
Yeah, I mean, and then annual emergency response drills with all agencies involved.
Yeah, and it also influenced global safety standards, promoting similar audits in the Channel Tunnel in between the UK and France, and the Goddard Tunnel in Switzerland, various long U.S. mountain and urban tunnels, ergo the Eisenhower Tunnel in Colorado.
And the redesign of the Mont Blanc became the template for 21st century tunnel safety, integrating fire resistant construction materials, evacuation chambers, and automated control systems. So, from this tragedy was born some really good things. Unfortunately,
It did have a really big emotional and symbolic aftermath. Memorials were established on either end of the tunnel, featuring the names of the 39 victims. And each year, families gather for remembrance ceremonies, often joined by rescue workers. Survivors and victims' relatives became advocates for transportation safety reform. And for many in France and Italy, the disaster reshaped the public perception of progress, reminding the world that technological achievement means nothing without human safety.
yeah, but how did all this really change the world? Well, the Mont Blanc Tunnel fire prompted a comprehensive overhaul of tunnel safety standards across Europe and internationally, transforming how long road tunnels are designed, monitored, and managed. So the EU regulations following disaster, well, there was mandatory safety directives for all transalpine and long road tunnels, including emergency escape routes and shelters, dual ventilation systems, automated fire detection systems. So those fire systems, they have to have rapid alert and response times. And then there's a unified cross-border emergency coordination, ensuring that multiple nations can operate as one during a crisis.
There was some engineering lessons here. Redundancy became essential. All tunnels now require multiple ventilation units, fire suppression systems, and emergency exits. The use of non combustible construction materials and fire resistant coatings became standard. Tunnels adopted regular emergency drills coordinated with national and regional responders. So, digital monitoring systems continuously track heat, smoke, vehicle congestion, and air quality to enable immediate action.
Yeah, and the disaster served as a sober reminder that technological achievement alone cannot prevent tragedy. Safety must be integrated in the design and operation. The Mont Blanc Tunnel evolved into a symbol not just of engineering progress, but of responsibility, vigilance, and international cooperation. This is a story taught worldwide in engineering, safety management, and crisis response programs, ensuring that lessons from the fire continue to save lives.
Absolutely. When the tunnel opened in 2002, fully transformed from a symbol of tragedy into one of resilience and safety, the reconstruction cost more than 400 million US dollars, with safety placed at the core of every design and operational decision. Structural improvements included reinforced fire resistant walls, new lighting, and upgraded road services to withstand extreme heat and heavy traffic.
And then, the safety upgrades. You have 37 emergency shelters that were installed. Each has a seal chamber with independent oxygen supply, fireproof doors, and communication links. Dang, that's huge.
Yeah. 116 high definition safety cameras monitored in real time by a unified Franco Italian control center, ensuring full coverage of the tunnel.
Wow, that's a big one too. And then emergency exits every 300 meters. For those in the United States, it would be 984 feet, leading to protected corridors and evacuation routes, allowing for rapid escape in case, well, of another fire.
So the new ventilation system can instantly reverse airflow, directing smoke away from vehicles and toward extraction points.
Hmm. And sensors direct fire. Hey, fire, go that way. Don't go this way. And then you have sensors throughout the tunnel that detect fire, heat, and toxic gases within seconds. And this triggers automatic alarms, ventilation adjustments, and control center alerts.
So, tunnel management was fully integrated, creating one team overseeing safety, traffic, and operations. Fire brigades from both nations conduct annual joint drills simulating large scale emergencies, and strict traffic protocols enforce speed limits, vehicle spacing, and hazardous material restrictions. All trucks now have to reach rigorous compliance and mechanical safety checks, including heat monitoring to prevent engine fires.
You know, to back up just a moment, strict traffic protocols that enforce speed limits. I can't go to this tunnel.
No,
No, I would get a speeding ticket. I'm almost certain of it.
probably. Me
Yeah.
too, honestly.
But It's now a tunnel that's been reborn. So the Mont Blanc once again serves as a vital transport artery, carrying over 600,000 vehicles annually. And memorial plaques at both entrances honor the 39 lives that were lost. It really just serves as a constant reminder of the human cost of neglect. And the tunnel stands as both a functional passage and a monument to lessons learned, symbolizing human resilience, vigilance, and international cooperation. So, honestly and truly, I found this one to be extremely fascinating. It wasn't something I really knew off the top of my head. I believe I had heard about it somewhere, but I can't really remember where I came across this. It was in reading something or something, and how this one disaster triggered safety standards for tunnels worldwide.
Right.
I
And
guess,
and it's a toll. It's a toll tunnel
well, they got to make up that 400 million somehow, don't they?
for sure. And the prices vary by vehicle.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
So if you take your family van, you're gonna pay more?
So it did close for major renovation and reopened in December
Yeah.
2025.
I guess this is kind of like a salute to the Mont Blanc Tunnel reopening.
Right, right.
Maybe it's inauguration. Hey, that
Mhm.
was pretty good.
Oh, the depth reaches 2,480 meters below the surface.
The depth of the tunnel?
Hmm.
Wow.
Underneath the mountain. It's 2,480 feet below the surface of the mountain. Factoid.
Here's some little weird facts about the tunnel. Water was once one of the biggest enemies, not rock. Crews encountered underground springs releasing up to 2,000 liters per second of icy meltwater from the mountain's glaciers, threatening flooding and freezing conditions inside the tunnel.
The tunnel is slightly sloped on purpose. The Italian entrance is about 1.3 meters or 4 feet higher than the French side, and this subtle slope allows water to drain naturally towards France, reducing flooding risk.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was once considered revolutionary and controversial. Environmentalists and alpine communities feared it would permanently alter mountain ecosystems and traditional trade routes. Those debates, they still echo today in discussions about freight traffic.
Despite its length, though, apparently traffic is tightly choreographed. Vehicles are spaced at controlled intervals, speeds are strictly limited, and traffic flow can be reversed or halted instantly. The tunnel operates more like an air traffic system than a typical road.
Dang, can you see the guy out there with the two orange cones? Like you know how you go to the fair or somewhere and it's like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
parking?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I see. Or maybe it's a red light system outside the tunnel. That's like stop, go,
It's
stop.
probably, I'd think it's be a red light system. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, $400 million, they could have at least bought a light.
So the tunnel passes through multiple rock types. Engineers didn't drill through uniform stone. They encountered granite, schist, gneiss, and fractured zone, which required changing drilling techniques mid-project, something that wasn't well planned for in the 1950s.
Could you imagine coming through, four different types of stones?
That's crazy.
That is, I mean,
I'm surprised they didn't find any like precious metals or something.
would have started a gold rush in France.
Right.
Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got, Kat.
Me too. If you would like to support this podcast, tell a friend and help get the word out.
If you would like to help us keep the show going, you can do so at Patreon. That link is in the show notes.
As always, William and I want to thank you for listening.
Whether you've been with us from day one or just tuned in, thank you.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Over there, you can share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
But whatever you do, follow us wherever you get your podcast.
You can send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
If you shoot us a text, we don't get your number. We just get the message.
Right.
And, but leaving that review, it really does help others find us. And you can always email us at,
Info on the Go podcast@gmail.com.
and that email link is in the show notes as well. Till next time.
Stay curious.